Guys, Whitney from the Holiday Homestead here. I wanted to do number, I think it's 4 or 5, I forget, on how to feed your chickens for less. And this video, I wanted to show you kind of what we do for winter. So in summer, especially in the Central Valley here, we live in the Sierra Nevada foothills, so there's um, lots of seasonal change. I'll say that. So in the summer, we all the grass dries up for sure, but we have a lot of garden stuff. We have, watermelon rinds. We've got squashes. I did a video about feeding your chicken squashes. That's also when our grains come in. So we've got the amaranth, the quinoa, the some oats if we did them. We didn't do them this year, but we do oats sometimes. Anyway, so that's all great for the summer. But for the winter, it gets a little bit harder because really all that we grow in the winter are brassicas. So that's the cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, kale, collard greens. Comfrey does pretty well. If we don't get really, really hard frost, it tends to be okay. Peas, snow peas, all that kind of stuff. So not a lot of things that the chickens will eat, you would think. But um, they actually do like a few of those. So generally speaking, you don't want to feed your chickens a lot of like cabbage because every once in a while it's fine. They like to pick at it and stuff, and that's great. But if you add it as a regular part of their diet, um, some people have said, I've never had an experience with this, but some people have said that it can give your chickens a lot of gastrointestinal problems. Basically, they just get really bad gas and they kind of get bloated. And so I've never seen that in my chickens. I give them cabbage every now and then. But just to be on the safe side, I've never really made it a huge part of their diet. Also, I really like eating cabbage. So if there's any cabbage around, it usually goes into the house. But what I do add, which is part of the brassica family, is kale and collard greens. And that's what I have behind me here. So kale and collard greens, like I said, they are brassicas, so they are frost tolerant. They grow like crazy, especially if you get a really good variety. And they're basically pest resistant. You do get those little aphids on them. And in the springtime, of course, ladybugs help with that. But in the winter, there's really not a lot of a natural predation of them, that's aphids. So I just hit it with a hose. Not fancy, but it works. And basically, I just kind of just, either you get the spray nozzle or use your thumb or whatever, and just get a really firm jet on those leaves and just washes all those little aphids off. So that's really the only problem we've had with our kale and our collard greens. Everything else, or every other time we grow them, they're fine. So what we have here, so this is the kale that I've been growing. This has been growing for about, I want to say maybe a year and a half. I'm pretty sure I planted in the spring of last year, or this past year. So it went through the summer and into the winter now. And so you can see it's a little bit leggy looking, but that's because we harvest the leaves up the stalk as you go. Um, so it just gets this you know, kind of stemmy look. And that is pretty normal. They just kind of keep growing up and up. They put a lot more energy into the leaves going out, so it gets a little bit shorter, which is nice. If you don't have like a huge space where you want this, 5-foot plant. But the thing is, generally speaking, they will grow through winter and through summer. Some varieties of kale don't do well in the summer. I've seen the curly leafed kales have a really hard time. This this is thousand head kale. It's a variety of giant kale that I get from Baker Creek Heirloom Seed Company. And I buy all my seeds from Baker Creek. They do a fantastic job. And so I've noticed with this particular variety, it's a broadleaf, so it's very nice and flat, open leaf. And it does fine in the summer. It does slow down a little bit when it gets 110, 115. And it kind of gets a little wilty towards the ends of the day. But next morning, it always springs back and looks fine and fresh. And then in the winter, of course, that's this plant's time to shine. It does a great job. And we get enough sun that it grows pretty well, and it regrows its leaves when we harvest them off. So this one in particular, I have um, 5 of these plants dotted all around my garden. And this one in particular, I mostly use just for eating for us because it's a little bit shorter, it's easy to get hold of, and they're kind of tender and nice. But even the taller ones in the rest of the garden, I will still use. Basically, you just break off a leaf, and I'll show you guys a little bit closer up here.